Good afternoon. I always get so pumped watching that video. I'm like bopping along to Capsho's little introduction. Welcome everyone to another live feature breakdown. We have been doing this series as a way to sort of systematically give you a really detailed look at some of the assets that Capsho creates for you, to really walk you through it in detail so you know exactly what you're going to be getting, and also share a little bit more detail behind how you would use it and why we've created it that way. Of course, feedback is always welcome. For those of you who may be tuning in and don't know who I am, my name is Bona Rai. I am one of the 3 co-founders here at Capsho, and we will be doing these live videos every couple of weeks, which of course is available for you to watch on replay as well. So for today's session, we have decided to put the spotlight on our social media posts. This was a highly requested feature breakdown because the social media content that Capsho creates is a little bit different to what you might expect, definitely from an AI tool or maybe even from other other tools that you have been using, because it is quite strategic. It takes a little bit of getting used to, a little bit of background. So that's why I thought we would definitely listen to the feedback and make sure we do a proper walkthrough and breakdown for you, basically so that when you are using Capsho or you haven't tried it yet, you're kind of deciding whether it's going to be for you. You'll get a real peek into how we do things differently. The keyword here is strategy, because as we know, social media is a very busy place with lots of noise and sometimes not a lot of actual conversation. A lot of people shouting into the void, I guess, of trying to get heard. There's definitely a place for promotion, of course, because you need to tell people what you sell and actually ask them to buy, but a lot of the time we can be guilty of just kind of like screaming louder instead of actually intentionally thinking about starting a conversation and then following through on that conversation into a conversion, which is going to take longer than we usually would like. So basically we have integrated Katie Brinkley's 4-post social media strategy into Capsho so that her brilliant strategic brain has actually been somewhat codified into what we create for you, but of course based on your content. So I went ahead and recorded this video a little bit ahead of time because we were going to be creating it for members of our community as well, and just thought what a great one to do a replay here on YouTube so that you can also watch it and ask us any questions that you have. So basically this walkthrough is going to go into, it's going to show you exactly the posts that Capsho does create, which platforms it creates for you, and how you would use those specific posts for each of those platforms. So let's go ahead and take a look, and I will be back after that replay of that video to answer any questions and wrap this up. All right, so let's get into it. All right, let's get into it. So when it comes to social media content and social media posts, there's obviously a lot of different ways that people define that, and a lot of different things that you need that goes into that. There's obviously the visual component, which might be an image, which might be a short form video. Obviously that's really popular in social media, but basically the visual creative part of your content. And then you have the written part, which we refer to inside of Capsho as copy or posts or captions. So basically that's almost the written part that will go with an image, that will go with a video, but also may just actually be on its own as well, because written copy is still something that is pretty popular on social media. And basically, the written copy that Capsho creates for you, you can either post as written copy or also take as inputs into a video, as talking points for a video as well. So before we get into the actual features, that's how I want you to think about, some of the assets that Capsho will generate for you. Now, when it comes to the visual video clips, we've done another video breaking that down. We do have a clipping tool that will turn your long form video that you upload into Capsho into short form video clips. So we won't be covering that in this video because it's a separate video related to clipping that we'll link. But basically what we're going to go through in this video are the features inside of Capsho that basically creates the written words for you for your social media posts and your social media content. At the moment, Capsho does Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn social media posts for you. And as you'll see very soon, we do it quite differently because there's actually a social media strategy that we have actually built into Capsho that dictates how the posts are generated for you. So let's take a quick look. If you haven't seen Capsho, this is what we call our asset dashboard. This is what you will see for everything that gets that every file that you upload into Capsho. So you'll see here, you'll be able to give the file a name. This particular one is a masterclass that one of our Capsho's besties, Luis Cameo, did. So we put that one through. Capsho will also ask you to confirm a topic and whether it's, content for your own platform or content where you've created it on your, someone else's as a guest, whether you had any guests, and obviously your persona. So all of these are things that you include as part of your every upload. That will be on the side for you. But really what we're here to talk about is social media. So you'll see here that these are the assets that have been generated. As a minimum, you will what will be pre-generated for you are the assets related to the platforms that you tell Capsho you're on. But you'll also be able to generate additional assets if you haven't told Capsho that you are on those platforms. So for example, you'll see here that Facebook and Instagram has been generated for me because on this profile, I have indicated that I am on Facebook and Instagram, but you can also click on create new asset and create social media posts for LinkedIn as well, even if you haven't told Capsho that you were originally on those platforms. Okay, so let's get into it. You'll see when you log into Capsho and you get it to generate content for you that there are 4 posts as it relates to social media for every platform. As you can see here for Facebook, we have awareness, tip, community, and action. And for Instagram, we have awareness, tip, community, and action. You can obviously see that that is consistent. And that is because these are the four posts that goes into Katie Brinkley's 4-post strategy. So Katie is a friend of Capsho. We love Katie, and we really enjoyed working with her 4 posts that really simplified social media and basically were really intentionally curated posts that you can post every week or whatever your posting cadence is. That's going to help you increase your engagement and in turn, obviously also, increase lead gen and clients. So you can read a little bit more about Katie, who she is, and also hear from her about her 4-post strategy. But you will see that that is actually baked into Capsho. So according to Katie's 4-post strategy, the first post is the awareness post, and then the second post is the tip post, the third post is the community post, and the fourth post is the action post. They're intentionally ordered in this way because they should follow one after the other. The purposes being because awareness is really about starting the conversation at the start of your posting week. It's really more of a question, and we'll go into examples just here in a second, but it's really more about, starting a conversation with your ideal people who will obviously identify as interested in this topic because they're engaging with you on social media, right? So that's a really, really clever way to do that. And then the tip post will follow up the awareness post because it's going to elaborate on that particular topic that you started the conversation on. And this post is really great for positioning you as the expert or someone who has experience and a perspective to share on the topic. Then we have the community post, which we call the quote unquote human post for, your social media, because it's really where you share social proof, whether that's through your own stories or whether through, sharing the stories of your community, to really bring that topic more to human life. And then finally, we have the action post, which is the moneymaker post, and that's where you are really going to be talking about basically asking people to take the action. A lot of us are, a little bit, unwilling to do that on social media. So this will definitely be a really great exercise for you. But a lot of the time it's because we think, it's because we've had bad experiences with just kind of making the ask and no one responding, right? The way that the 4-post social media strategy works is by the time you make the ask through your action post, which may be as simple as, let me know if you want a link to the full video, or let me know, if you want more information on this. It could be as simple as that, or it can be as, I guess hard as, asking people to buy your product or service, is that you've warmed them up throughout the week. So that's why that sort of order is important. Now, like with all things, you want to experiment with this. You want to try it for your content and your audience, because obviously not every audience is the same and not every business is the same. But largely speaking, that kind of takes people from an awareness to action journey with you. And obviously you have to do it consistently to really kind of build that, that almost habit with your audience as well. So that's why Capsho does it in this way. Now, obviously each of the platforms are different, which is why you'll see that, each of the 4 posts are created by platform. So we'll go into each of those so I can kind of talk you through what you see and what you would actually do with them. So let's start with Facebook. So the Facebook awareness posts that you'll see Capsho generate for you are kind of these questions or sometimes unpopular opinions or sort of thought starters and conversation starters that are intentionally designed to be a little polarizing. So when you read these and you're like, oh, that's not really what I believe, it's not necessarily reflecting your thought and you putting a quote out. It's really just kind of picking a somewhat polarizing thing or something that's actually going to generate discussion and get people to quote unquote pick a side, so that you can see what kind of engagement and what kind of thought process people follow. So as you can see here, it's usually going to be a statement with a question. So that's pretty, or sometimes it's just be a statement. You'll want to experiment with different things. But basically all we recommend you do with this is, obviously edit it to make it sound like more like you. And that's obviously part of just working with AI. But on Facebook, these work really well as, these sort of, simple statements on like a colored background. Very, very simple, right? So they're immediate scroll stoppers. People, even though there's quite a lot of them out there, they do interrupt they have a pattern interrupt. So people will stop. If they don't engage, and that tells you something about your message. So that's why awareness posts are actually a really great way to test your messaging. But as you can see, it's very simple and it'll kind of really train you to be really, on brevity of message. Okay, so that's going to be the first post that you would do on Facebook. Now, the Facebook tip post that follows up is usually just a long form written piece of content. You'll find that for all of the platforms, this is kind of what Capsho will do. And by design, because obviously the tip and elaboration posts are, by nature, all about sort of elaborating on the topic. So it's going to crystallize from your content sort of what Capsho surmises is your take on it, your perspective, and it's going to be framed as a tip or tips you can share with your audience and obviously encourage them to, really engage as well. Now, the tip post can build on the awareness post because you can even tag the people that engaged with you on your awareness post to, ask them what they think about your take on it. There's lots of different ways that you can sort of use this. Some people who have a more video first, process will look at this tip post, this almost, this written version and turn that into a video where you just kind of talk into talking to the camera, or if you are someone who live streams a lot, you can even just go live with this, with this content. So, there's a few different ways that you can do that for sure. As you can see here, you can kind of go long form with it. You could, even do a carousel, break it up into a carousel with the caption. The idea being that you want to see, this is what Capsho gives you is the inputs into, into helping you really go deep on a topic. Okay, so that's what you're going to get for a Facebook tip post. Now, the community post, we are in AI and we don't believe in replacing humans. We believe AI is all about augmenting the human. So what you're going to get from the community post is not a fully written out piece of content from Capsho. What Capsho is going to do is it's going to take into account the upload and your audience and your topic and all of that. And it's going to suggest 3 ideas for you to craft your own community post. Now, this means that obviously there's a bit more, on you to do that. But really, this is where you should be spending this time to, think about what's going to resonate with your audience and dip into your, I'm sure, huge backlog of stories and inspiration and case studies and, basically the why behind you do the work that you do. And this is a really great opportunity for once a week or whatever your posting cadence is for you to actually meaningfully, share with your audience. That's not to say that awareness and tip posts and action posts aren't meaningful. They obviously play their role, but this, just by nature of the post, the community post is where, basically our Capshovians definitely get the most engagement. So what you'll see that Capsho does for you is it's actually going to create, like I said, some thought starters, some ideas. So basically for this particular one, it's kind of saying maybe you could share a personal journey about, how you approach creating content, because this masterclass was all about, how do you make sure you're testing, experimenting with your message and not just focusing too much time on production, right? The idea is also to spotlight our collaboration with Luis and Fonzie, who are the Biz Bros, who we've been collaborating with on this piece of content. You could talk about the relationship with them. Again, there's that human element. Or you could do a case study or a success story from someone who's been implementing this. So again, likely you already have this content in your brain, but Capsho is just going to recommend some angles, some human angles that you could actually bring this to life. And in terms of that, if you are someone who prefers to write, it could very much be a written post with some photos. It could be a video. Again, it could be any format that you feel either most confident in or you're most, excited about trying. And that's the beauty of this, is that every week you get to try different things. And finally, we have the action post. So again, this is going to be written out in a pretty, short and sharp way. Obviously, you'll want to edit this as well. But what this is going to do is it's going to kind of bring it all together and really talk about the action that you want the audience to take. Now, you will, when you upload inside of Capsho, you will tell Capsho a bit about what action that is. So it may be to buy your book, or it may be to buy a ticket to your virtual event or your live event. It may be even just to listen to the episode if you've got a podcast, or watch a video if you've got YouTube, right? So, in this particular case, it was for a workshop. So, it's going to write it accordingly. But again, this is something that is just going to give you the building blocks of how to actually make the ask. So then when you step back and look at your week, if that's how you're doing your content, then, you can see that you're taking your audience through the journey, and the action that you ask isn't entirely random. So because you've been building on the momentum between the 4 posts. So what I've just walked through there is an example, I guess, basically of how you might do it for Facebook. Obviously, each of the platforms, like I mentioned, are slightly different, and there is really no replacement for testing and tweaking what works for your audience. But where there are some obvious native functionality of the platforms, we can definitely utilize those as well. So I'm going to go ahead here and show you how you can generate, say, I wasn't on LinkedIn, but I've decided to be on LinkedIn now. You can go ahead and generate those for LinkedIn. But while that's generating, we'll take a peek at Instagram and how it differs. So on the Instagram side, because Instagram has made polls a thing on their captions, this is what you'll see Capsho create for you. Some really simple polls that you can do as the written part of your content. Now, obviously, Instagram is a predominantly pretty much purely visual platform, so you will want to think about what video you might want to post with this. And the great thing, or maybe it isn't a video, maybe it is an image. But if you are looking to post a video or a reel, then the great thing is that Capsho does create that for you as well. So you can go ahead and generate a video clip here. Like I said, there's a separate video that walks you through that entirely, so we can link that here. But basically, this could be the written caption that goes with it. Now, when you generate a video clip inside of Capsho, it will also suggest a written caption, but this is where the choice is yours. You have the options available. Just use them as assets that you think that you're intrigued to test with, and you think your audience would respond to. And if they don't, that's great, because you've learned something, right? Another way that you could use these polls is if you are someone that does Instagram stories and you tend to get more engagement or some engagement there, then these are really great, polls that you can do on stories as well. So again, that starts the conversation on Instagram, with some sort of poll. You can see that the tip is going to be quite similar. Now, depending on your content, depending on the edits that you make, because Capsho does self-learn with every edit that you do, the length is going to vary. But again, here is in this particular example, they've done it in a Capsho's created it for me in like almost five things as to why quality content doesn't require fancy equipment. 5 reasons, sorry. So I could very easily do like a carousel like this, and also follow up with the actual, caption, right? So I could also turn this itself into a carousel. So again, really think about what, your content, like what's worked in the past and what, you want to experiment with, because then these are then they become more evergreen assets for you to continue to farm. So that is the tip post on Instagram. You'll find that the community post is going to be something very similar, where it's just ideas. And again, this is about, once you have the idea, like, okay, I'm on Instagram, what is working well for me on Instagram right now? What am I keen to try? It could be an Instagram live. You could do a video that you put to stories. You could post to your feed as a reel and also share it to stories. You could do a collab post if it is something that you're telling the story of someone else, or a strategic partner, or someone in your community. You could do a carousel that basically highlights the person in your community as a case study. So there's lots of different ways and forms this can take, but the main thing you're going to get from Capsho is the idea as to what you could actually, craft the community post around. And again, we're really, really big advocates of testing, so that you can actually get, some real data and results based on your audience and your following. And finally, we have the action post, which is going to come in a very similar form to what you're seeing for the other platforms, because it's really, going to crystallize the key action you want that person to take. So basically, you'll again you'll want to test with different forms for this as well. We've actually found that for Instagram, stories are a really great place to do action posts or action content. Let's say, even if you don't. That's not a post, it's a story, but you know what I mean, because there's a sense of urgency that comes with stories, because people have almost like that inbuilt progress bar going up the top before the story kind of moves on to the next one. So that could be a really great way to try your action, especially if it is time sensitive. So that's Instagram. LinkedIn is going to be very similar, but with LinkedIn, the main difference is going to be that we do also create a poll for you for LinkedIn. And if you don't know, which I realize a lot of people didn't actually, you can do polls natively inside of LinkedIn. So something like this, you can see here that Katie's created. You can just go ahead and click on, create obviously new post, and that you can choose poll as the style, and these get phenomenal engagement because they're so easy. They're really sort of compelling for people as they're scrolling through, and it's very low fidelity for your audience, right? So with LinkedIn, we found a lot of people get a lot of success out of doing these posts. And the great thing is LinkedIn will show you obviously who's voted for what what options, I can't speak, and then you'll be able to see. So if it makes sense for you to engage with them, you can. And obviously the reach of these are really great. So people who aren't connections yet or followers of yours will also be able to see them and engage them. And that's great if you're reaching people, obviously friends of friends and connections of connections. That's how you kind of grow your audience. Now, even though I have said it throughout this, a big part of this is about seeing all of these options available to you as assets that you can deploy in different ways. When it comes to the polls, we've actually had people inside of our Capshovian community who use them in the Facebook group because that's where they nurture their audience, right? They may not necessarily care about LinkedIn or Instagram, but, and they're doing their Facebook awareness posts on their personal profiles or their business profiles, but inside of the Facebook group, you can do polls. So just because we've labeled it LinkedIn awareness post and it's a poll doesn't mean you can't also use it for different things. Some people have used it as options to send out to email to say, thanks so much for being part of my list. Actually, I've been really thinking about, video production for creators of late. Hit reply and let me know how long do you spend on, and then give the options, right? If that's the poll that Capsho generated for you. So this is social media content, of course, and it's hopefully, really apparent to you that we spend a lot of time and we put a lot of effort into creating social media posts that are actually strategic and will actually get you engagement, and, you'll actually be able to do it a little bit more intelligently than just posting and hoping and that someone's going to engage and kind of just speaking sporadically about stuff. So Capsho will absolutely walk you through that. But at the same time, these are also assets that you can think about deploying in, hopefully a few different ways. All right. So hopefully that was helpful and that really kind of brought to life how we think about social media here at Capsho and how we kind of make it available for you in the product. Like I said, the main thing here is about being strategic, but also not systemized to a point where you basically suck the soul out of your content creation. I think one of the key balances that we need to make as intelligently lazy entrepreneurs who are, trying to leverage tools like AI and like Capsho to really kind of accelerate their audience growth and obviously content creation, we have to be careful that, we don't do it to the extent that it just becomes, very routine and very stops adding value to our audience. So really where we want to help you strike that balance is do a lot of the heavy lifting and have some of the cognitive heavy lifting for you so that you can actually have the capacity to really think about, okay, what are some different formats I would like to test? What are some different, styles of content or different platforms that I want to experiment with, right? So the whole point is that you're not just kind of setting and forgetting and just following the 4-post social media strategy to a fault and not even kind of really engaging with it. But it's really there to give you a strategy that you can then test and tweak and see, what works. Even with things that work really well for a period of time, social media being what it is, it's going to have its, ups and downs, or it's going to stop working that way, or that feature's not going to be available, right? So we have to stay fluid and flexible to all of that. And the main point of this whole thing is to how can we accelerate the understanding of our audience? How can we continue experimenting, learning what they like, how they like it, what format, what kind of content, and things like that. Even if we're not here to be professional content creators, we are here to get cut through with our message. And that is, the most important thing. Social media is just one part of a very broad, ecosystem of platforms that we do need to be on, but it is an important one because, again, it is where people expect to build a relationship with you. And if you are in the business of selling a product, a service, or even coaching and things like that, that trust and that relationship is the most important thing that's going to compel people to buy. So hopefully that was helpful. As always, we are continuing to work through all of these, these features and make them even easier for you. While I was creating this video, the team are actually working on building some of the guidance that I spoke to you about in different types of posts and things like that. So I'm sure by the time some of you watch this video, we will have updated Capsho. So we'll have another video video to override this. But regardless, we are on the journey with you. We are very, very open to feedback and co-creating with our community. Everything you see now has been because we have co-created with our community. That's very important to us. So if you have been using Capsho and trying it, definitely let us know your feedback on the social media side. If you are, haven't tried it yet, feel free to give it a go, especially if you liked what you've seen today. You can start a free trial by going through to www.capsho.com and clicking one of the many purple buttons that's going to take you, or pink buttons, I think. Yeah, I think they're pink. Anyway, the button that says start a free trial, you get a 14-day free trial, and you can get, you'll get 120 minutes worth of uploads to play around with. So we always recommend putting in your favorite, almost random piece of content, really to see what Capsho can do for you. And you have 14 full days to use those as well. So you can really try before you buy, if you want to buy it all. So we're very much about making sure that this is the right tool for you. All right, well, we will see you. I will see you on another video. Please let us know if there's any specific features you would like us to walk through, or if you have any feature requests. We love those. We won't promise that we will build everything, but it's always really helpful to us to know what our community wants. All right, well, until next time, stay intelligently lazy, and I'll see you in the next video.